So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope everything is good wherever you guys. Guys, smash the like button. Everybody that's watching the video, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the videos. I really appreciate it. If you guys smash the like button, as I always ask you guys to do. I appreciate your support over the years. As you guys know, I'm not 100% at the minute, so sorry about my voice, sorry about if I sound a bit squeaky, because I'm not well at the minute, and then you guys know the situation. But I want to talk about Callum Smith. Callum Smith just scored a brutal second round knockout of Castillo. Firstly, I hope Castillo is okay. I hope Castillo, I wish him a speedy recovery. I hope he gets well soon. That was a very, very scary knockout, and sent one that sent shivers down my spine. You know, boxing can be brutal, and this is why I don't like fighters being trolled, because people don't understand how brutal and dangerous this sport is. And when people go out and try to troll fighters, I don't think people understand how dangerous this sport is, and the fact that these guys are putting their lives on the line for our entertainment. Yeah, they're getting paid for it, but it's irrelevant. They're still giving us entertainment, which we get a thrill out of it watching. You know, I never like to see that. You know, that was a really horrible knockout. Callum Smith hit Castillo with a right hand, and Castillo fell to the ground. It was kind of like a delayed reaction, where his body went into like a shock state, almost as if he'd been tasered. His body started shivering and shaking, and the referee obviously had a close look, and then realized he was in distress and waved it off. And then they turned the cameras away, because they clearly could see that Castillo was in serious trouble, and rightfully so. That was brutal. That was brutal, and that was a statement win for Callum Smith to come up to 175 and have a statement win like that. Guys, as you know, that initially I was a big fan of Callum Smith. When I first saw Callum Smith, you know, up and coming, you know, going through the ranks, I was a big fan of Callum Smith. And I actually thought, when he knocked out Hassan and Dem, I thought he was one of the best fighters in the UK. But then I saw his fight with Ryder, and then I saw his fight with Canelo, where I felt like he was terrible, and he hurt his credibility in those fights. They now obviously blaming the fact that, you know, he was weight drained, and most fighters do that when they have a loss. They blame the weight, that they're struggling, especially somebody like Callum Smith, who was obviously very big at the weight. You know, he can blame it, because we know he was tight, making 168. He's a big guy. A lot of people are going to get excited again, and rightfully so. Castillo's never been stopped. He's gone 10 rounds with Marcus Brown, 12 rounds with Bivol, and people are getting excited again, calling Callum Smith a monster. But not myself, and I'm not going to be fooled again until Callum Smith has a marquee win. And I'm not being harsh on Callum Smith, because I actually like Callum Smith. And I wish him all the best. I hope he can go on to have success at 175. But here's what I'm trying to the point I'm trying to make. I feel like Callum Smith's resume at 168, he didn't really do a lot in terms of world level. People may say he was avoided, whatever you want to say. His best win was against George Groves, who was past his best, right? And apart from that, he hasn't really fought anybody, you know, that I consider world top tier. He fought Canelo and got beat soundly, and many would say that he got beat by John Ryder. Now he's beat another guy. Now he's moved up to light heavyweight, which I think is probably the right move now. At this stage, the age he's at, the fact that he was such a big super middleweight. And now he's knocked out a guy in Castillo, you know, who, like I said, has you know, been respectable against other champions previously. But Callum Smith has always done well against these level of opponents. He's always, you know, he always does well. He looks great. He knocks guys out. We know that he's got power. We know that he looks great. But the fact is, until he now does it against somebody that's world class, right? Because you can even make a case that, when he fought George Groves was no longer world class at that point. He may have been world champion, but he was no longer world class. He had a shoulder injury. He wasn't, in my opinion, the best version of George Groves. Nevertheless, he still is a good win. He beat George Groves. But let's talk about what next for Callum Smith. I feel like until he does it against a top tier light heavyweight, I feel like that's when I think he should get the credit he deserves. Because when you like I said, get beat the way he did against Canelo, he lost, I felt, a lot of credibility amongst the boxing fans. And even though he shouldn't, because Canelo's a great fighter, there's no shame. But I thought he could beat Canelo. I thought he could beat Canelo. I thought he had a style that I actually thought he was much, much more tougher fight for Canelo than Saunders. I thought Callum Smith would be, he's 6'3", he's long, he's tall, he can punch. I thought this would be a much tougher fight than Saunders. But it wasn't. And it was actually a very, very dull, easy fight for Canelo. And Canelo won that fight comfortably. And you could even go as far as saying that Callum Smith looked like he was trying to survive in that fight. Now, Callum Smith has said that he wants to fight Canelo again and he would love that fight at 175. However, I would have no interest in that fight unless Callum Smith does something at 175. Like, what I mean by that is if he goes and beats a Beterbiev, beats a Bivol. And I think he could beat Bivol, because I'm not a huge fan of Bivol. I know some people seem to think that Bivol is great and he's this and that. I'm not that entirely impressed with him. So I think if I was Callum Smith and I want a shot at a world title, Bivol is somebody I target. And even Joe Smith, that's a fight, although Joe Smith, I think Bivol's got no punching power. I don't think Bivol can punch. I think Bivol's not the biggest puncher. I think Joe Smith and Beterbiev punched the hardest out of the three champions. I don't think Bivol's a big puncher. He's going 12 rounds. He went the distance with Leno Castillo, went the distance with Craig Richards, and he didn't look very impressive either. He's a good boxer, but again, no marquee wins on his resume. Joe Smith, he beat Joe Smith, I think, but again, no marquee wins really. Joe Smith is a big, strong guy, but he can be outboxed. So I don't think he beats Beterbiev. I think Beterbiev would stop Smith. I think Beterbiev's too strong. But I think Bivol and Smith, I think they would be intriguing fights. Now, a lot of people seem to think that him against some of the light heavyweights in Britain, I think Callum Smith beats all the light heavyweights in Britain. I don't think there's any light heavyweight in Britain that I would favour. Like, he beats Yard, he beats Buatsi, in my opinion. He beats Lyndon Arthur. He beats Callum Johnson's dangerous because he got punching power, but he beats Callum Johnson. I think he beats all of the light heavyweights in Britain. I'd give him a chance against Bivol and Smith at world level. But until he beats somebody like that, I'm not going to get carried away with Callum Smith again, because, like I said, I was disappointed. Like, I rated Callum Smith very highly, and like I said, after the Hassan and Dam fight, I thought this guy was the best fighter in the UK. I believe he was really, really good. And then his performance against Ryder and Canelo completely he shot down. And now it's about rebuilding and getting back to where he was and getting back viewed like he was, because I don't think Callum Smith is viewed like he once was. Like, if you go back a year, 2 years ago, before the John Ryder fight, Callum Smith was viewed very, very highly by the British fans. Very, very highly. People no longer have that perception of him. So the only way he's going to be able to get his credibility back is by having some great wins at world level. Until he does that, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be very difficult for him to claw his credibility back that he lost fighting Ryder and Canelo. Even though I do think he's got ability, I do think he's got talent, but again, we need to see him fight against top tier guys. You know, Callum Smith, for majority of his career, hasn't got the big fights. You know, and that's the story of a lot of fighters in modern boxing. You know, Andrade, you know, Callum Smith, you know, many guys like that. You know, Charlos, like there's just many guys like that. That Plant even, you know, Benavidez, like they haven't fought anybody. You know, so it's hard to judge how good they are. And then they'll fight Canelo, and Canelo would dominate them. And then you're kind of, then they kind of get sent back down to earth. And it's kind of like people say, oh, well, they were never that good anyway, because they haven't really got any marquee wins. Like when Cotto fought Canelo, nobody started saying, well, firstly, Cotto gave in an excellent performance. He gave in a very competitive performance. But you would expect that from Cotto, because prior to fighting Canelo, Cotto already had a stellar career. Cotto was a great fighter prior to fighting Canelo. You know, Callum Smith and Andrade and Plant, these guys haven't had any marquee wins. They haven't had any fights where you look at and think, wow, you know, he beat that guy or beat that guy. So we need to see Callum Smith. We need to see Callum Smith in tough fights. We need to see Callum Smith in 50-50 fights, not in a fight like Canelo and then get beat. We need to see him in fights like a Joe Smith. We need to see him in there with a Marcus Brown. You know, guys like that, where if he wins against those fighters, he'll gain some credibility. People will say, oh, his resume will start building up. I'm not even saying fight the champions next. I'm saying fight guys a level below, like your John Pascals, your Marcus Browns, you know, your guys of that level. You know, there's so many. The light heavyweight division is so stacked, and you know, even maybe a Joshua Buatsi, that would be a big fight. Maybe because I think. I don't know whether Eddie Hearn would make that fight between Buatsi and Callum Smith, because I think they're trying to build Buatsi into a next star, into a big star, and I think Callum Smith will beat Buatsi. I think I want to see Callum Smith fight Joe Smith. I think that would be a good fight, and I think he could beat Smith. You know, I do think that I think he could beat Bivol. I think he could beat Bivol as well, to be honest. I do rate Smith. It's just that his performances against Canelo and Ryder, I think, has hurt him. But like I said, if you go on and you go on and win a world title at light heavyweight, all that's forgotten. I know he's talking about fighting Canelo again at 175, but he shouldn't even be talking about that. He should be thinking about now going and winning a world title. And once you get yourself in a position where you're a unified champion or you're a light heavyweight champion, you can call out Canelo again, because then you warrant that rematch, because you're now a champion, and Canelo may think, I've beaten this guy easy once, I'm gonna go and beat him. I'll beat him again. You know, it was easy work the first time, it'll be easy work again. But then Callum Smith will be putting himself in a position where he warrants that fight. At the minute, he doesn't really warrant a Canelo fight on the back of the performance that he gave against Canelo, because it was very disappointing. But if he goes and wins titles at 175, then, you know, he has all the right to call Canelo out. But I would like to see him start stepping up and fighting stiff competition at 175. You know, he's had a great performance. Look, this guy went 12 rounds with Bivol. He went 10 rounds with Marcus Brown. So surely Callum Smith can start being pushed into fights against those guys. And Callum Smith's at the stage of his career where he should only want big fights. Now, fair enough, this was a fight to warm him in the 175-pound division. But now he should just go and fight the big guns. I feel like when you're at this stage, you've taken a loss. You're not undefeated anymore. So that O's gone. Go in there and look to fight the best. That's the way that's what I think Callum Smith should do. And try to be great. Because if you beat a Beterbiev, you beat a Bivol, you beat a Smith, you become a two-weight world champion. You know, so yeah, that's my take on it. What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts. It also shows how great Canelo was. You know, I know people want to make out Callum Smith was drained, again, taken away from Canelo's greatness. But Canelo completely dominated Smith, and nobody's been able to do that, whether he was drained or not. Because the fight before, even John Ryder, I know John Ryder's not on Canelo's level, but that was a close fight. And Canelo completely dominated, you know, he completely dominated Smith. And like I said, nobody's been able to do that. So you've got to give Canelo Alvarez a lot of credit. It shows how great he is, you know, and that's just my take on it. Leave your thoughts, though, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.